Hey folks, Colin here from Sumthins Recording, and today I'm going to show you one alternative use for acoustic guitars to really fill out your next track. Now, usually when we think about acoustic guitars or electric guitars, we think of them as rhythmic elements or melodic elements to add harmony or feel to our track. What we're going to talk about today is using acoustic guitars as a percussive element to add some frequency to your track and really fill it out, frequency-wise, to fill out the different spaces and the different spots across the frequency spectrum to make your song full range. To start off here, let me play you the full finished track as it stands, and then the second time around here, I'm going to mute out this acoustic guitar high, and I want you to hear that high space that disappears from our track, okay? This acoustic high is filling a higher frequency space than our regular acoustic guitars or our electric guitars or our keys. It's filling that top little spectrum just to tickle the ear a little bit. So we'll start with that second time around. I'm going to take it out. Take a listen to how our song changes. This isn't something to be used by itself. This is something to put on top of regular acoustic guitars or even regular electric guitars and keys to make your track full range. So let me solo up the regular electric guitars. Well, actually, let me show you this instrument by itself first so you can hear what it is and what it's doing for the track. So it has some kind of melodic element to it, but it's not something that's going to come through and impact the track. That melody is not that impactful on the track. What is the percussive element of the acoustic guitar, of the strings, of the instrument for this piece, for this track. So by playing up that high and using the acoustic guitar as a percussive element rather than a rhythmic or melodic element, we're going to fill a different frequency space to make our track more full range. So let me play the regular acoustic guitars, and then I'm going to throw this acoustic high in and hear how it takes our acoustic guitars from being, well, let me pull up the frequency spectrum, from going from about, 100 to 10K to going all the way up, because we're going to fill that top end area. We're going to emphasize, that up high area where you usually hear the top of the cymbals and that kind of stuff. Just a little bit of ear candy, tickle your ear a little bit. So start with just the regular acoustic guitars, and then we'll add this high piece in. It's not something is missing from your track till you put it in, until you mute it out and you realize, oh, there's an empty space at the top of my track, right? Because if we start with just these acoustic guitars, they sound full range, right? As acoustic guitars usually tend to do. They can dwarf other instruments because of how big they can sound. But we click this high piece in and you realize there's that space up top for an instrument to fill in and make things even more full range sounding. Let's take it a step further now. Let's throw in our electric guitars and let's throw in our keys as well. And we'll start without this piece in. You'll hear how our track sounds. And then when we throw this high piece in, just this little bit of percussive element, it's the same thing as adding like a tambourine or a shaker just to fill that space up top and give a little bit more oomph to our track. So take a listen. So things sound okay without it, right? Everything sounds great. The acoustic guitars are sitting above the electric guitars. Our piano is reinforcing our electric guitars. The organ fills its space to glue everything together. But we click that acoustic high in, and you realize it has its own space to sit, right? It's not bothering our regular acoustics, excuse me. It's not bothering our electric guitars or our keys. It sits in its own space because there was an empty piece up there. That's what this percussive element, this percussive sounding acoustic guitar is doing. It's filling an unused frequency space above the rest of our instruments. So one more time, let me pull up the EQ too so you can see where it's sitting. We still have a high roll off, but it's sitting higher than everything else, and it's giving a little bit of that percussive element to our track. Something you don't know is there until you put it in. One more time, this time I'm gonna start with, and I'll pull it out, and I'll pull the EQ back up too so you can see, and then we'll jump back into the full track. It's a small part and it's quiet in the mix, but just those little pokes from the high end of the acoustic guitar, that percussive nature of those strings, gives the track a little bit more range, makes it a little bit more full range because we're adding that high end frequency space. One more time in the full track. Oops. One more time in the full track here. I'll mute and unmute this acoustic part, and you can hear the range it's filling and how it adds to our track and expands the frequency range. I'm clicking all the wrong keys here. So starting with, and then I'll pull it out and put it back in one more time. Our track was already big, it was already powerful. We're just going that one step further to make it more full range by adding a percussive acoustic guitar element. I hope that was helpful for you all. I hope that gave you something to try on your next track. But before you skip out here, I do have a free gift for you. This is my 7-step mixing checklist. You can download it using the link in the description. It will guide you through the entire mixing process, step by step, to get you professional and radio-ready mixes without the guesswork and without the hassle. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.